So it's very lovely to be here again. As mentioned, I was here very early on when we didn't have a centre. And we had just 3 students here. And then I came again when there were 30. I came again when there were 300. And I said, I'll come back when there's 3,000. And now there is nearly 3,000. So it's wonderful to be back here when there's so much growth. So thank you for those wonderful performances. Really very beautiful. So the topic today is about the secrets to shift. So when we talk about shifting, we're mainly talking about shifting our mindset, because very often we get fixed in a certain mindset and then things don't change, whether it's relationships, personal development, and generally our life. So a mindset can be understood to be an attitude, a belief, a perspective, a standpoint. And sometimes we make a stand on something. And it's very hard, as you know, to encourage someone to change when they've got a firm standpoint. And I think in my early days, I didn't relate well to the spiritual or religious upbringing that I had, because I felt that it was taught in a fear-based way. But really, it was also my own arrogance. I didn't believe in God, because I believed God is for weak people. God's just a crutch. I can change. I don't need God. So that kind of mindset makes us very closed and doesn't enable us to be open-minded. I recently was asked by a 91-year-old lady to share with her about Rajayoga meditation. And I must say, she had the most open mind I've ever encountered in my life. Her mind was completely open at 91. And I felt that she was listening with complete sincerity, possibility, but also that she was intelligent enough to make her own decisions. It's not that when we have an open mind, we accept everything, but we really do need an open mind so we can learn. And the problem with a mindset that's a little bit stubborn, fixed, it's not open to change, to learn, to grow. And so this is the main thing that we talk about when we talk about a mindset. Is it a mindset that will enable growth, or is it a mindset that's already fixed and limited? And so if we want to have a more fruitful life, I would say we need to create a mindset that is open to growth. So when we talk about attitude, it colours everything in our life. Attitude towards people in our family, attitudes towards possibilities. So if we want to shift into some kind of change, we really need to look at our attitude. And some examples also in that is when we have what they call a scarcity mentality instead of an abundant mentality. It's like some people have a negative state where they always see the glass half full and others half empty, and the positive see it half full. But our whole life is coloured by our mindset. And it's said that when we change our mindset, all our circumstances change. And I've travelled to China just not long after the Cultural Revolution. And I met a woman there who was, she was studying art in France, in Paris. But they were the kind of people that were targeted. So her husband was with the army, the opposite side. So she was sent out to the Gobi Desert, into the desert. And from being a student of fine arts in France, she said, I was just like an animal. I was just like an animal that could talk. She had to forage for food. Her hands were all gnarled. And she kept talking about all the sorrow that she went through. Her husband was killed during that time. And her son, was, really defected to Taiwan. So that's where the army went to carry all the treasures from China. So she really was just full of sorrow. Her eyes showed it. Her eyes had so much sorrow. And she would talk to me about the sorrow and what she had been through. And I said to her after one day, because I was there for 2 or 3 days, I said, do you mind if when you bring up this sorrow, I try to shift you towards the future? Because as long as we live in the past, it's like we're settling that karma again and again. Every time we talk about it, we feel the same sorrow. So it said it's like a debt. You may have a debt, but once you've paid it off, it's finished. But if you keep talking about paying it off and what it felt like and how you did that, it's almost as if you're paying it again and again and again. So she agreed that whenever she was going back to the past and the sorrow, I could shift her out of that. Another thing was, she asked me why she suffered so much. Because one of the reasons we can't shift is because we can't understand. And as humans, we need to understand. So I felt a little uncomfortable because I'd never really suffered in my life. And I'm asked, why is she suffering? But according to the understanding I have through this spiritual philosophy of Rajayoga, I shared all of that with her. That it's to do with our karmas, and it's also that when we suffer, we grow a lot. When we're very wealthy and we have everything, sometimes we don't think about the people who don't have anything. We don't think about the people that haven't suffered. So often people who have suffered and have learned from that and have developed compassion and an empathy, they're very rich in what they can share with us. But if we're always in fortune, we don't often have that kindness, that empathy. So I was sharing with her things like this. When I went back to Shanghai, she was in Shanghai, and I went back about 6 months later. And from just seeing her eyes, I could see half of the sorrow was gone. And she said that. She said because of what I shared, she was able to come out of a lot of the thinking, the why me, and feeling like a victim. She didn't use those words, but that's what she was expressing. And I realized that even if we haven't been through those sorrows, we can still help people come out of sorrow with understanding. Because as I said, I felt very uncomfortable telling her why she suffered when I'd never suffered. I felt like I was like a pundit, just speaking without experience. But knowledge itself has such a great power. And if we share something that resonates with the other person as truth, it can be instant. They can shift out of that state of mind. So she really shifted. But still, half the sorrow was there. So we started to work on that agreement that whenever she talked about sorrow, I would try and bring the conversation around to the future and what she can now do, because the Cultural Revolution was over and the government was giving back to people some housing, things like that. So, things were improving. So every time she brought up this sorrow, I kept encouraging her to imagine what can be in the future. So, it was good. We had some good conversations. She agreed and decided to change her mindset from the past, full of sorrow, to a future of possibilities. And as I said, when we change our mindset, we can change all our circumstances. So the next time I visited her, another few months later, I was living in Hong Kong. So when I visited her again, she said that she had made contact with her son in Taiwan after like 20 years, and he was allowed to come and visit her. Huge. So when we change, our world changes, possibilities change, and things start shifting in reality. It's not just a theory, but that's one example. And you can think of your own situations and experiences. When we change, the world changes, but especially our world changes. And my own personal experience in that. So I was in a situation where I felt that I was being pushed out of something. I felt pushed out, and I felt some sorrow and, maybe blame, things that come up when we're feeling pushed out, and why, and all those things. But within a few hours, I was able to change my thoughts and feel that I'm not pushed out, I'm pushed up. And I started to feel very excited that I'm not being pushed out, I'm being pushed up. And I didn't feel any concern about the future, because I really shifted my mindset and I felt the excitement of possibility. And I was going to a retreat in the Philippines, and when I arrived there, I got a call from one of our regional coordinators asking me to go to India to do a project for 4 years. And it was the most amazing experience. I lived in India and I worked on a project called The Future of Power, inviting leaders from 50 cities in India and organizing 50 dialogues in India, in 50 different cities. So in 4 years, I lived in 50 cities and organized these programs with a little team, but I was the only one kind of on the ground, and then the team would come for the program itself. It was such an amazing experience. So from Agartala to Calicut everywhere throughout India, I had this opportunity to meet leaders, from 20 different professions: sports, Bollywood, medicine, arts, science. It was such a rich experience because I changed my mindset to feeling pushed up. And I do believe that if I felt pushed out, I would not have been in that situation. Because when we feel pushed out, we carry a kind of a mindset that gets in the way of opportunity. And we often, when we feel pushed out, we keep getting experiences of being pushed out because we attract whatever's in our mind. Whatever thoughts we have, we attract that. If we believe in the possibility of something, it's very likely. In my experience, always, in my experience, when I believe in the possibility, it happens. And when I have a doubt, doesn't always happen. So we can experiment with this in our life. Please don't believe me. Experiment yourself and you will see the way it works. And once we have the experience of this working, then we get more and more faith in this belief. So we experiment with it. It becomes a belief because we have the experience. And that faith becomes stronger and stronger. And so we make things happen. And I can share so many experiences of that, but just a small one. Now I'm based at our retreat centre near Melbourne. And we wanted to have an open day because we were gifted with a 40-acre retreat centre. The Brahmakumaris are being given a 40-acre retreat centre because it's owned by a charity. They can't sell it, they have to give it to another charity. So they chose us to give this retreat centre to. But we wanted people to know we're there. The Brahmakumaris are now in the valley, the Yarra Valley. And so we organised, well, we didn't really organise, we advertised. We advertised an open day. But we were so busy that we didn't really have time to organise it. And we didn't know anyone. We were new, we didn't know who to go to, where to go. And on the Thursday night, I remember, I usually sleep straight away, but that night it was like, oh my gosh, we have this event that's already advertised and we haven't organised it. We didn't have a stage, we didn't have sound system, we didn't have musicians, because there was a peace concert as well. I was like, because we just didn't have time. In the morning, when I went down for my early morning meditation, I saw a shooting star. That was a good omen. And that afternoon, I went to a marketplace where people gather, and I said to this man, do you know where I can get a sound system? He said, talk to this lady over here. So it was a sound system provided by the local council, so it only cost a few $100s. So we got a sound system, and I asked her, do you know any musicians? And she said, talk to that person over there. So he said, oh yeah, I can get you musicians, no problem. So we got the musicians. And then they said, talk to that man over there because he does marketing. So he will help you with the marketing. Talk to him, got some marketing. And then they said, talk to that man over there. He will get you $1,000 because he works at the council. You can get a grant. So everything was organised within half an hour. Just half an hour, it was all organised. I mean, I don't know if I should do it like that again, but it really always, I get this experience because it was a good intention. We weren't lazy in not organising it. We really were too busy, and someone was sick and this and that. But how things could just come together. 350 people came, just like that. It was a wonderful, peaceful, harmonious day. But I have so many experiences of that I never doubt anything can happen. So they say that courage is not just an absence of fear. It's not an absence of fear, but courage is when you can see something and you just go there. You don't doubt. You just make it happen. I have that kind of courage, blind courage. Not fearless courage, but blind courage that just sees the goal. So one thing that helps also with this shift, that one of the secrets to shift is to really have an aim and keep your aim. And that also comes with determination. There's some determination in that. And determination is possibly one of the most important qualities we can imbibe in our life. And the mother, as we call her, Mama, who was the one that led this organization from the beginning with the backing of the founder. So she said that determination is the most important of all qualities. Because she said, you can have all the virtues, but if you don't have determination, they won't necessarily be effective. So we need that determination. And one thing regarding this is that sometimes we praise people's talent. Like we saw the talent of the young children. But it's not just talent, is it? It's hard work, right? So rather than praise your talent, I would praise your perseverance, the hard work, because that's what makes us grow. If we just praise talent, it's a little bit lame, but hard work is what we need, because even with the talent, if they don't keep improving, keep practicing, they won't be able to dance like this in a few years, right? So this is what your teachers will tell you all the time, right? You need to practice, practice, practice. And sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes you feel lazy. Sometimes you feel, I just want to go and play. But if we want to excel in anything, we need determination. And people who've achieved the impossible have done it with determination. I don't know if you've heard of someone called Joe Dispenza. He's a very well-known person. He has done a lot of work in neuroscience. But what happened when he was young, just 24, he was in a triathlon, something like that. But anyway, he was on a bicycle as part of this training that he was competing in. And he was in this on this bicycle, and he went head-on into a truck. And he broke his back like this, broken. And the doctors said he will not be able to stand again unless he has plates put in his back, steel rods put in his back. He was a chiropractor, and he knew something of neuroscience, but this was 30 years ago. It was very new at that time. But what he said, he called God the great intelligence. So he said to the great intelligence, this is a very small job for you. We can do this. This is a a small job for you. And so what he did is he used neuroscience to train his neural pathway to be able to recover without the operation. And they frightened him. The surgeon said, if you don't do this surgery, your back will heal, but it will be crooked. And then we'll have to break it again to put it straight. It's pretty risky. But somehow, and he said to the great intelligence, I'm going to do this through my mind, and if it works, when it works, not if it works, when it works, I will dedicate my life to the mind-body connection. So what he did every day, he imagined himself getting out of bed, putting on his slippers, putting on his robe, brushing his teeth, doing this, doing that, having a shower, getting dressed, driving to work. He just imagined himself doing this. But he did this in a disciplined way. For 4 hours a day, he did this work. So he did this mind training for 4 hours a day. If his mind wandered, he'd start again. He disciplined himself in this way. And I'm not sure he could have achieved what he achieved without that discipline. It seems everyone I know who has achieved miraculous things has done it with discipline. After only 16 weeks, right? Just 4 months, he was living a normal life without the operation. A normal life. Unbelievable. Is it impossible? It sounds it. It sounds it. But he's very famous. He couldn't fake it. He's too well known. They would have researched him. They would have gone into all the, the background to see that it's true. It's true. And what he really has been able to show us is that nothing is impossible. But why is it not impossible? Because one thing that they know now in neuroscience that comes from quantum physics is that we are not matter. This is 99.99999% energy. The matter, it's just like any scientist here? Anyone's a scientist? You can verify. No? But in science we know that we are 99.9999999% energy. And since then I've done quite a lot of research and had conversations with neuroscientists, quantum physicists. They said that, for example, one of them said, if you had matter, like this little handful of matter, the protons and neurons that would surround it would go some miles away. Because the atom just has one little point of matter and the rest is energy. So this physical arm, it seems solid. It seems like bone and flesh, but it's energy. These walls are energy. It's not just our body, even matter. All matter is energy. So we have to, our mindset can be so opened when we educate ourselves on these things, and then we will know that that's not impossible. That is a way of seeing, a way of viewing. It's a viewpoint. And you can research Joe Dispenza with a Z, Joe Dispenza. You can research yourself. And he's not the only one. Others have also done this kind of work. But everything is possible with the power of the mind. When I was young, I was a teenager, I was involved in so many things. Saving the whales, saving the trees, anti-uranium, helping the poor, helping the people with disability. But I was confused because which one is more important? Saving the whales, saving the trees, saving people from poverty? And I had so little money, so little time. What can I do when there's so many problems? The reason I dedicated my life to this is because I believe everything starts from the mind. If I can change my mind, I can change my world. If I can help people to change their mind, we can change this world. And the Brahmakumaris organize, events with big leaders that if we can influence people, we can influence in a big way. Whereas for me, even if I worked my whole life, I'd have a little money, a little time to give. But if I can help others to shift their awareness, they can do things that are big. So a little example of that, when I was in Hong Kong, I was teaching at a hotel. 24 managers, 2 hotels, used to come together once a month, and they'd do a class in this meditation. And after the class, they would have a vegetarian buffet. So at the end of the meal, I saw there's so much food left, enough for 40 people at least. And I asked the general manager, what's going to happen to all this food? Can you serve it again? She said, no, we have to throw it away. Can you imagine? Throw it away. Enough good food for 40 people. And the statistics are telling us so much of our food in Australia, something like 80% of food ends up as waste. Ridiculous statistics. So I started a little charity because of this. With her help, I contacted some charities, Mother Teresa charities, Sisters of Charity, and one other one, and we donated boxes so they could go and get the food from the hotel. But I knew the owner of the hotel. So when I told her about it, now she's got her friends involved because she's the owner of a hotel. She knows many restaurant owners, many hotel owners, and she's got all this connection. Now there's 7 vans going around in Hong Kong 24 hours a day collecting food and delivering to charities. And they say something like 5 bus loads, double-decker bus loads, tons of food every month. It's called Food Link. You can look it up, Food Link. But just if we start in a small way, look at me. I have little time, little resources, start this, but when I can inspire others to change their mindset, and now these very wealthy friends, when they go for a dinner, they always take boxes and take the leftover food home and share with their helpers. They've got so many helpers. So they share with the helpers or they eat it themselves. It's good food, but they don't waste anymore. So it's not just what we're saving in landfill, what we're helping the charities. They serve over 1 million people in these charities. And they also have changed their mindset about waste. They don't waste anymore. They don't waste food because they know, and they do fundraising with the wealthy. So they're spreading the message, spreading the message. And the wealthy can give quite generously and support this charity. And now it's run by their children. So it's not just one generation, now the next generation are running this charity. So you see, if we just do one small thing and we can inspire the mindset of someone to change, big things can happen. And I didn't even imagine this would happen. I just had to do something because I couldn't bear the thought of all this good food just going to waste while people are poor and starving. You know, Hong Kong is wealthy, but it's also got a lot of poverty as well. So when we can change the mindset, then also we feel happy. Because, you know, if we are able to make a difference, we feel that we're living for a purpose. And that gives so much happiness in our life. I can't live just for fun. I can't. You know, I was invited to New Zealand, and it's a beautiful country. And they said, oh, go sightseeing. It's a beautiful country. I'm sure it was very beautiful. But I can't, because I can't just, unless I had company and I could share and I could do something. But just to go and spend, you know, in those days it was $50. Now it's probably $200 or $300 or $400. Just to go and spend just for fun in a world like this, I can't do it. It's nothing wrong with it. But when we even go with our friends and family and it's bonding, then it's worth it. But just me going on my own, going sightseeing, it's nothing, you know, for me. But when I can do something meaningful, so when I change my mindset to also be aware of what's going on in the world, we're not in ordinary times. We're at a time of so much need, so much possibility for our encouragement and our good wishes and any help that we can offer, that it's the time to stretch ourselves. So that's another aspect about shifting the mindset, is to get out of our comfort zone. Because if we live in a comfort zone, we are very limited. We keep to the few friends that we like, the few little places we go, the food that we like, the comforts we like. So I've spent 32 years in Asia. And one of the reasons I enjoy being in Asia, because I'm out of my comfort zone. I don't know what food I'm going to get, the weather, the language, the conditions. So I've lived in Hong Kong. It's not very comfortable. It's very noisy, very crowded, very busy for 22 years. I've lived in Cambodia for 4 years. I've lived in Taiwan for 2 years. I've lived in India for 4 years. And in India, 50 cities. So I went from center to center. You never know what the conditions are. But it's good for me. I don't do it for others as much as I do it for me, because I need to get out of my comfort zone. Otherwise, I will be limited. And we don't know what facilities we'll have in the future. And I'm concerned about people that need their pillow and their this and their that. When they travel, they carry their pillow, right? Because we don't know when we can have anything. You've been through it yourselves. You've been through curfews, wars. I don't know what you've been through. I can't even imagine what you've been through. So you know what I mean. And stretching ourselves out of our comfort zone really opens our minds and also increases our ability to bring the powers into our life to tolerate, to accommodate, to withdraw. When it was so noisy in Hong Kong, you know, I had to train myself to sleep because there's always so much noise, you know. And our centre was on a corner like this, where there was so much noise. And one sister came from England, and she said, I can't sleep, it's too noisy, what can I do? What can you say? What can I do? I said, all you can do is don't listen. So that's what I mean by withdraw. We have to withdraw and just hear but don't hear. If we keep listening, right, it gets louder and louder and louder and can drive us crazy. So we really need to get out of our comfort zones, and I feel a bit embarrassed talking to you about that because I think you're better at it than me. You've had to go through so many things that I'm sure you all have so many stories, as our brothers and sisters do in Australia. We have, we have probably a few hundred BKs from Sri Lanka in our centres in Australia. And when I talk to them and what they've been through, I really can just only imagine what they've been through. A lot of the women, they don't have husbands, they've lost their husband. They've come to a new country without the language. Talk about going out of your comfort zone, So I'm a small person to talk about this to you. But this is what we need to change our mindset. Although I was talking today with the brothers, and they were saying that often people in Asia, they can't live without their particular food. Like some people visited from Gujarat, and they didn't feel like they've eaten until they ate rice. So even when we, have our little experiences, but we have to go beyond any of these things, or as much as we can, so that we can face the future, because we don't know what the future is going to look like, but it's not looking too good when we see what's going on in the world. So you, as elders, some of you are elders, you, I hope, can share with your grandchildren, your children, and I hope they're listening, because the mindset of young people these days is often not that good at learning from elders. I don't know about Sri Lanka. Do they learn from you? Do they listen? Your children, your grandchildren, do they? Do you think? Do they? No. Do they? Do your children and grandchildren learn from you? Do they? To some extent, yeah. But why they don't listen sometimes, and I'm not pointing the finger, I don't know any of you, but sometimes why they don't listen is because we're not good examples. We have to be good examples. And that's why it's also important for us as we age to continue to become wise, not to live in the past, but to learn and share that. And also, we need to look after our health, because when we're healthy, we're more vibrant. Sometimes young people think that old people are useless because they've lost their faculties. But if the elder are wise, they will never think that. So look after our health, look after our mind, continue to learn, be open, listen. So, we also need some qualities so that the young people listen to us. But it is a little bit of a culture now to give a lot of importance to the youth and not much importance to the elderly. At least in the West, it's become like that. So we need to keep, our own wisdom and dignity so that hopefully we can share, because it's important for the young people to learn. And when I've sat with elderly that are wise, it's almost like you sit with a whole encyclopedia or something, because they carry so much. I've sat with people that are 90, 95, and they carry so much, especially if they've cultivated their mind. And this is the meaning of meditation, to cultivate the mind. Apparently, it's the Sanskrit root. The meaning in Sanskrit is to cultivate the mind. And so we need to cultivate our mind if we want to help others shift their mindset. But if they think we are rigid, we are just living in the past, they won't listen. And so at this point, let me see if you have any questions, comments. What would you like to share about the secrets to shift? Maybe you have your own secrets.
That is, what is openness? See, what is some elaboration on openness? What is the first step to be taken for the openness?
Yeah. So that's really the key to the secret to shift, to be open, not to believe that you know everything, not to, even in the word belief, you spell it, how do you spell it? Belief. B-E-L-I-E, lie. In every belief, there's a possibility of a lie. How come? That's so interesting. In the middle of belief is a lie, possibly. So there's a saying, and I don't know if you're having translation, it's maybe difficult. I may be wise, I may be otherwise. Otherwise. Because I think I know, but sometimes I've got to be open, because you never know the other person's perspective or what you can learn. So don't ever be too fixed. In this philosophy, Taoist philosophy, in Chinese philosophy, it says, those who know don't speak. Those who speak don't know. We have to be very careful of thinking that we know everything. So when our mind is open, we can always learn. We can always grow. But when our mind is closed, we're just like a horse with blinkers. We only see this way, and we don't see anything around. It's not a way to live. The opposite is being, open-minded and having a very broad and unlimited intellect, which is so exciting because there's always newness out there.
Just another question from another audience. He says that individually people are making successful in their job or any target, but when they get into a group, they can't perform the same thing, and they find difficult to achieve that target. So what may be the reasons for that?
So interesting. So when we're doing our work, we can be very successful, but when we're in a group, we can't always get that same success. That's a really good point, because actually we need to hold space for each other. Sometimes that happens because the people that we're with have a competitive attitude and don't really want our success. So we need to encourage each other and be open and, give space to others so that they can thrive. Yeah, I've been in situations where it's receptive. I have ideas, people get behind me and they work, and others just closed. And I feel my magic can't work. I feel I have magic. I have a lot of magic possibility, but sometimes people just cut us. So find another group to, to work with if you can, because sometimes it's not possible to change that dynamic. But you can try. You know, sometimes they just need time. Sometimes they need time to build trust in you, because it's like they don't believe in you. And trust is a miracle. You know, I've just come from Taiwan, where we are opening a center. And the person who is helping us, we have 2 BKs there only, but we had to get 30 people to be our members, to give all their details to the government, to support us. Not an easy thing, and from 7 counties, not one place, from 7 places. Because the sister that's there has an experience of the Brahmakumaris, she's been to Mount Abu, she's been to our retreat center, so she trusts us. She trusts us. And I must say, I mean, not with ego, she trusts me. Because that's important. Because in us, somebody has to be accountable. You know, she's getting 30 of her friends to commit to us, to be our members, and to set us up in Taiwan. So she trusts me, she trusts the BKs, and her friends trust her. So the only way we were able to register is trust. They don't even speak English. Only 2 of them speak English. The rest only speak Chinese. I don't really even know them. They don't know us much. But they trust her, she trusts me, and the BKs. But why I say me is because I need to uphold that trust. I mean, the BKs, how does the BK organization uphold the trust? It has to be a person, right? Impractical. So I have to be very careful to uphold her trust, because she's accountable to her 30, and they're all top leaders. There's an architect, a lawyer, professor of law, a PR manager, consultant manager, chartered accountant. They're all professional people. So for them to put their names to our organization takes a lot of trust. So we need to win people's trust somehow. Some people find it hard to trust. Others find it easier. But we also need to be trustworthy and show that and model it and gain that trust from others.